Welcome everyone to NGINX Sprint. I really hope you've been staying safe and well. And due, of course, to COVID, we're not doing this event in person. We've held the NGINX Conf for 6 years in a row, but unfortunately, this time we're holding the event as a virtual event. And because it's very different to Conf, we've renamed it and we're calling it NGINX Sprint. This event is obviously virtual in nature, but it's a lot different in terms of focus, much more technical and really focused on trying to build cool stuff with the NGINX technologies. How do we come up with the name Sprint? Well, Sprint is really all about speed, trying to get to your destination quickly with maximum velocity and power. Also, the name really got its roots with agile development, and it's a bit of a nod to our roots there in agile. And of course, speed is now more than ever incredibly important in this digital age that we're all in. You know, we're seeing that over half of consumers now place a higher value on their digital interactions with a company than their physical interactions. And competition is now only an application away. A few developers with a great idea can compete with a company that's, 20, 30,000 people that's been around 40, 50 years. And loyalty to brands is taking a back seat to convenience and experience. In a recent PricewaterhouseCoopers report of 15,000 people over 12 countries, a third of consumers said they would drop a brand they love after a single bad experience. Almost 60% said they would drop a company that they love for multiple bad experiences. So this really impacts the way that we as a community are building and deploying and running applications. So let's dig a little deeper. To win, you really need to bring new capabilities to your apps at speed, and competitive advantage is the key to success here. And so you don't need to just run fast, you need to run faster than your competition. And what we're seeing is that 40% of people are willing to pay more for speed. You know, you see this in things through like logistic companies like FedEx or UPS in terms of packages, but we're now seeing it in our day-to-day lives with things like Uber Eats now offering an additional cost for priority delivery. So your food is delivered first by the driver rather than last of a group of 5 or 6 different deliveries. So speed is how consumers want things. It's part of that convenience and experience, and it has a real business impact. Consumer expectations have also changed. They've been set by the large-scale digital companies like Netflix, like Google, like Facebook. They've now set the bar or the expectation level that we all now need to meet. And so regardless of whatever your application infrastructure is, if you have mainframes or legacy apps that you're working with in addition to modern services to build your experiences, there's no patience for spinning wheels, for taking your app down for maintenance windows, for home pages that say, come back later, we're busy. We even have 100-year-old insurance company tell us that their first page load time needs to be exactly the same speed or better than Netflix or Google or Facebook. Otherwise, their consumers drop their app and go do something else. So we're now all being held to the same performance benchmark and metrics as the large-scale web companies. And when, unfortunately and inevitably, things do go wrong, user patience is at an absolute minimum. Brand and reputation are heavily impacted. So you need to adopt speed to reduce mean time to resolution, to limit the possible loss of customers and reputation. And once again, consumers don't care what you're dealing with on the back end and how complex your app is, and whether you had a cloud outage or a CDN went down or a DDoS on API traffic. They just want that Google or Facebook-like experience. And not only that, downtime has a huge impact on both operational cost and revenue. So there's real impact to the business. And consumers are now becoming so dependent on technology. If your application goes down, you impact their ability to drive revenue and their operational cost. Just for example, think if Zoom went down at the moment with the amount of people using Zoom for video conferencing, both with their customers and internally. It has a domino effect on many different customers and users around the world. So what's stopping us running at this speed? Well, we see 3 things when we talk to our customers. It's the teams, it's the tools, and the technology. So let's dig into each of these. For the teams, it's really about fatigue that we see. And I wanted to touch on this, not just from a technology standpoint, but also given the situation we're in with COVID. If you think of devs as the engine room of your digital experiences, they're trying to run at breakneck speed. They're trying to iterate and deliver new updates and versions of the apps every week, every day, sometimes hourly, sometimes even more often than that. And we have to try and remove obstacles to drive greater efficiency and reduce lethargy within the developer teams. And 2 things that we've seen. Number one is letting developers deploy at the speed of which they can innovate, which means giving them self-service capabilities to put the right tools in their hands to let them deploy as fast as they can create in real time. And if anything, is cloud has proven to us that if you put the right tools in the hands of developers, they can reach this sort of productivity of deploying it as the speed of which creativity is there. And secondly, this may seem less technical, but we're just reducing the amount of meetings, particularly in the world of COVID. We're seeing a multitude of meetings for people, and developers very much get in a zone. And if you make them stop to get into a meeting, it not only stops the flow, but it takes them a significant amount of time to get back in the zone. So reducing meetings can only help increase productivity. So I would recommend thinking twice before setting up an oversight meeting. If we look really at the tools, where we can help increase speed is really around the automation. If developers are your engine room, then transmission is your DevOps and IT ops team, because they really take the power of the engine to the wheels and control the throttle. And so if we dig deeper here, how we give greater speed to the IT ops and DevOps teams, if you think of self-service for the dev teams, for the IT ops teams, it's treating infrastructure as code so that they can match the same speed at which the dev teams are deploying their apps. This way they can both be synchronized. And many of the customers we talk to think that moving infrastructure to software is the end of the journey. And that's not the case. That's just really moving the problem from one form factor to another. To truly be modern in your approach, you need to deploy infrastructure in real time as you're deploying the code, so they can support the speed of the application development team at the speed at which they're running. The other area that you can help with tools is around the APIs that you build. We see many customers have built APIs using imperative approach. And by doing that, yes, you do give very fine-grained control to people using your infrastructure or your applications. But at the same time, not everybody wants to be that level of expert and doesn't understand the complexities and the timing and process for all these various componentry. By creating declarative APIs, you reduce that complexity and enable a broader use of a broader audience to use your tooling and your application. And that allows them to run, obviously, at a much faster speed. And we've taken the same approach to the way that we've built our products, such as NGINX Controller. And then finally, technology. And really, to improve speed with technology, it's around taking an adaptive approach. And so if you think about your dev team as your engine, your DevOps and IT ops team as the transmission, what car are you actually trying to build? What vehicle are you trying to build? You may want a sports car today. You may want an SUV tomorrow. So you need to have technology that evolves as your app needs change. So you may, for example, want to start by building a monolith, because that's the fastest path to building your application. But over time, as the application gets more complex, or as more users start using the application, you may want to break that into various services. And you may at some point want to take that from on-prem to the cloud, or if it grows to a significant size in the cloud, bring it back on-prem to reduce cost. So having technology that can evolve and adapt, depending on where your application is in its life cycle, is critical. And that, once again, improves speed, that you don't need to change the technology as your application needs change. We'd also talk about how do you make technology more adaptive through managing the tools that you use. In the early stages of building an application, you may grab every tool you can just for this sort of quest for speed at the beginning of building an application. But very quickly, these multitudes of tools actually become a drag on your application and slow you down. They create complexity, they create latency, and quite often they reduce your ability to have end-to-end visibility within your application. So picking technologies that can do multiple roles within your application, that can use single management and control planes, can reduce that complexity and increase the speed at which your application lifecycle over a length of time evolves, as opposed to just at the beginning. And finally, making sure that your applications are not locked into the underlying infrastructure. From my perspective, we've locked our applications into infrastructure from the very beginning of IT, with the days of mainframe to Unix to Windows and Windows Server technology. And now we're in cloud, we're making some of the same mistakes and locking our applications into various cloud providers. And if we really want to be adaptive, we need to be able to move our applications from one cloud provider to another, or back to on-prem. And to do that, we can't lock our applications into the underlying infrastructure. We need to make sure that we use tools that abstract that underlying infrastructure, so that as technology evolves, we can take advantage of changes in technology. Just think of the world of virtualization and how quickly that changed to containers. Maybe there's something else coming down the path. We don't want to be locked into whatever that underlying infrastructure is. We want our applications to be able to evolve as the infrastructure evolves so that we can compete in the market. So these are sort of some three of the areas around teams and tools and technology that we think that customers are really focusing on to try and drive greater speed. So how can we here at NGINX help? Well, a couple of ways. Firstly, NGINX is built on open source technology. And because we're built on open source technology, we're forced to innovate at the speed of the market. Our community demands it. Our community are providing a lot of the capabilities and features that we build into our product. And open source feeds our commercial offerings as well. So by using NGINX open source or even our commercial products, you're getting technology at the speed of which the market is moving and at the speed of innovation. Secondly, through NGINX Unit, we have built a product that manages 7 different, or runtime for 7 different languages, which reduces the complexity of the different tools that you need to run a distributed or microservice or service mesh application. With NGINX App Protect, we've taken the same engine that runs security and the WAF on top of the big IP products and put that on top of NGINX in the lightweight data plane. And with NGINX Plus, you have a single data plane tool that can take many form factors, whether that be a sidecar proxy or a Kubernetes ingress controller. It can be a load balancer. It can be an API gateway. It can be a caching front end or even a media streaming server. And you don't need different tools for every single one of these data planes. A single data plane can do that with a single management tool. So we're reducing the complexity of your environment through the tools that we offer here. And then finally, with NGINX Controller, we're helping you accelerate your time to market. You don't need to be an expert of the NGINX config or NGINX data plane to get the power. We've abstracted that complexity. And so with a simple click of a GUI or a simple API call, you can do really cool stuff like A/B testing or blue-green deployments or certificate management or publishing and deploying APIs. So through our product, we believe that we're really helping our customers reach this speed and velocity that's so important in today's digital age. So now that you've got the engine of the dev team, you've got the transmission of the DevOps or IT ops team, and your application, the chassis or the application you're building, whatever's important to you, we're here to help. We know that every company and every development team is different. We may all be in the same digital storm, but we're all in very different boats. So no matter where you're going or what type of application you're building or what obstacles you're facing in terms of reaching velocity and speed, I wanted to let you know we're here to help and we're here for you. So thank you so much for joining Sprint. Please continue to stay safe and well, and we really hope you enjoy the next few days of content. Thank you very much.